What's up, Game Leapers? This is Iggs. So guys, here we are, the 13.4 changes. We're going to detail all of these in this video, and let's start by talking about Veigar. So like I mentioned in yesterday's video, your Q range is increasing by 100 and your W range is increasing by 50. This means that during the laning phase, you should be able to CS easier and hopefully get to the mid to late game without being 0-10. Now we have Cho'Gath. Your Q mana cost going down, your Q's damage is also increasing the base damage, which means that if you actually manage to land your Q, it's going to be more impactful, and this will encourage you to max your Q first as well. But the mana cost thing, I don't really think it changes anything, but there are a couple of more buffs. Your armor growth is going up, so as you scale into a game, you're going to be tankier against those attack damage champions in the top lane, and your W's mana cost is going down at later ranks. These are certainly nice buffs, but I don't think it's going to push Cho'Gath into OP territory. Then moving down to the bot lane, we have Alistar, and his passive heal is getting increased again, as is your Q's AP ratio and your W's AP ratio. So if you're going something like maybe like Shirelia's Alistar, you're really going to make use of this. If you want to actually go AP Alistar maybe in the top lane or something weird like this, I mean, you can actually build AP items on him, but I still don't think this will make him as good as the other engaged supports like Nautilus and Rakan, who are really good at the moment, but these are buffs on paper. Now moving to the mid lane, we have Ahri. Your base HP is going up to 590, your base armor is increasing by 3, and your ultimate's cooldown is decreasing at every rank. The base HP going up and your base armor is going to make your early game and laning phase stronger, in particular against those attack damage champions like Aurelia, Zed, Yasuo. You will take less damage from them and be able to bully them out of lane even more. Your ultimate cooldown going down means you'll be able to make more plays, but also to escape those sticky situations when you need to. Now heading back to the top lane, another tank, we have Malphite here. So for Rock Solid, your W's cooldown is going down by 2 seconds at each rank. This is actual significant and might even encourage you to max this earlier, particularly because at rank 5, it's only on an 8-second cooldown. When you start getting ability haze from your items, you can certainly make use of this. Then you also have your W's attack armor ratio. So the more armor you have, this is scaling into damage by 50% more. This is big. And then we have your W cone armor ratio, which is also increasing, but this time by 33%. Still though, these actually look like really nice buffs for Malphite, and we'll certainly see him picked more in the top lane, but I'd probably just recommend picking him as a counter pick, or maybe like your team might need some sort of engage, so that's what I think about in Champ Select. Then we have Viego, who's getting buffed, and these are some interesting buffs here. So your passive can now crit enemy champions, which is big, right? And crit Viego, because this is like the most DPS you should have on this champion, it will allow you to get your resets off quicker. The only risk is if you're going to be like really glass cannon. So maybe the build will include something like Shield Bow into even like Infinity Edge, maybe Bloodthirster might be good, right? And then we have another buff here, so to your ultimate's ratio. So instead of dealing damage based on 3% of your missing HP per 100 bonus AD you have, it's 5% of that missing HP. So for Viego, I think these are nice buffs, and they'll still open up more builds rather than just going the standard Borg. Next up on the list, guys, we have Aphelios. So your passive attack speed, this is going up by 1.5% in the early game, up to 9% in the late game. This, I think, is a really nice buff for Aphelios because, well, in the early game, you're going to feel this a little bit, but as you start scaling, and you should be able to now, because games are just typically lasting longer ever since the durability meta hit in 12.10 last season, will this bring him actually into line with like the other strong AD carries? Probably not, but I actually think this is a really nice buff for any Aphelios mains out there. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section. That goes for any of the champions, guys, of the changes that we do mention. Now, another bot laner, we have Senna. Your attack speed ratio is getting increased by 33%. Your ultimate's damage is also increasing later into a game, so at level 11 and level 16, and it's also scaling more of your bonus attack damage. So again, hitting your scaling here, but also your level 11 spike and your level 16 spike, so mid game as well. Then we also have your ultimate's cooldown, which is on such a long cooldown in the early game, it's almost 3 minutes. This is going down to 140 seconds, so 2 minutes and 20 seconds, down to 100 seconds at level 16. These are really nice buffs for Senna. Do they mean she can actually be picked in the bot lane because she is one of the worst supports at the moment? Well, we'll have to wait and see, of course, but these buffs on paper, they do look like legit buffs. Now, next up, we have a champion who, well, if she is an S tier for a patch or two, Riot buffer, and that's because she's got so many skins, this being Riven, and honestly, it pains me a little bit that Riven gets buffed rather than a bunch of other champions who probably need them way more. But anyway, your passive damage, instead of scaling at certain points and certain numbers, it's going to scale now linearly. So from level 1 to 18, it's not actually going to happen in stages, and this of course is based off your total attack damage. Then we also have your passive damage dealing damage to towers now. It's only going to be at 50% effectiveness, but if you are going to win lane, this is going to be even more powerful because you'll be getting those tower plates quicker and the tower itself. So this will really help your snowballing, and your passive stacks are now going to show this is like a quality of life buff under your HP bar, but this is for Riven only. So if you're playing against a Riven, you cannot click on her and see her passive stacks in the top left of your screen. This is only for the player actually playing Riven. So yeah, a nice little thing, especially for new Riven players. Now, last champion getting buffed, guys, this is Orianna. Base armor is going up, so a bit like Ahri, who we mentioned, going up by 3, exactly the same. This is going to help you against those attack damage champions, but also like ranged champions as well, because you do cop auto attacks from ranged champions in the early game. This will help you actually fight for the early priority. Also, your W's mana cost is going down, and this is by 10 at each rank, meaning that you can just use this more, because after like 2 W's, if you combo with your Q, or even if you like E yourself or a teammate and use your distance, it just feels as if you go so quickly. So these are really nice buffs for Orianna. Do they mean she's going to be picked more and actually, like, you know, her win rate go up because the last buffs didn't really do much? Well, I actually think, especially the base armor buff, these might even be more significant. And guys, if you are enjoying this video, please remember to leave a like down below. And if you do actually want to master any of these champions or master the roles you play them in, make sure you check out the GameLeap website at GameLeap.com, linked in the description and comment section. Our challenger players and coaches are uploading daily videos to help you improve, whether it's me going through my coaching sessions in like a condensed way, where I talk to you about the highlights and actual applicable tips you can apply in your game straight away to become better instantly, or whether it's like high elo VOD analyses. They might be talking about like certain topics in the game, like wave management, how to play the map, vision control, all of these type of things. We have all the videos you need, so make sure you check out those links down below and get signed up to access our library of content. Now, champion nerfs, there are a bunch of these. First off, we have Samira. So your actual passive movement speed is getting nerfed in the early game, but it's increasing in the late game. So your snowballing pretty much is going to be worse off, but yes, in the late game, you will have more of it. Also, your ultimate's lifesteal effectiveness, this is going down from 66.7% to 50%. So less lifesteal when you use your ultimate. Heading to the top lane here, the number 1 top laner, we have Jax. And your HP is getting nerfed, the base HP by 20. And even though you're getting 1 more HP per level, this is still a nerf at level 18. Then we have your E's AP ratio getting nerfed all the way down to 70% from 100%, which means if you're going something like Zhonya's Jax, your E is not going to one-shot people. Now, right, I've actually changed your E, so the dodges actual increase total damage instead of base damage now. And speaking of your Counter-Strike, still your max damage on your E, this is getting nerfed as well in the early game, but it is going to deal more damage based on the target's maximum HP, and it's also going to scale more off the AP you have. This is the max damage, remember. Now, moving on to your ultimate, the on-hit damage, this is getting nerfed, so your level 6 spike is going to be a lot worse, and this is getting nerfed by 20 in the early game to 10 at level 11, but it is staying the same at level 16. So you'll still have that level 16 late game power, which you should have on Jax, right? It's just in the early game laning phase, he's so strong. Now, the armor you're getting for the first champion hit, this is going down as well in the early and mid game, and then we have your magic resistance for the first champion hit, exactly the same, right? It's going down in the early to mid game, but staying the same in the late game. So in total, there are a bunch of nerfs here for Jax. I actually don't think like they're too bad and too severe. I still think he'll be a good champion. Maybe you can't just like blind pick him now. You will actually have to think about when you're going to pick him, but Jax fans, let me know in the comment section what you think of these nerfs. Now, speaking of a lot of nerfs, we have Maokai next to the number 1 jungler. So your Q's damage, the base damage is going to deal the same damage, but it's actually going to scale off your max HP now, which is so much better because this is going to encourage you to actually go tank Maokai rather than going like AP Maokai. Then we have your E's cooldown, which is going up, so your sapling toss by 4 seconds. This is almost a 50% increase. This is pretty big. It means that around those objectives like Baron and Dragon, you're not going to be able to control those areas as much. Also, your E's damage is going down by 5 as well, and the AP ratio is also going down by around 30%, and the slow is going down as well from 4% to 1% for each 100 AP you have. Again, it's trying to discourage you from going like Liandry's and just full AP Maokai. But not only that, guys, another nerf to your E here, the HP ratio, okay, based on the actual slow. So the slow is increasing based on each 100 HP you have, and once again, encouraging you guys to build HP on Maokai. And you never know, maybe this even makes Maokai in the top lane better. So if you're going something like Sunfire Aegis right into Jak'Sho and a bunch of tank items after that, this actually looks, well, pretty good for top lane Maokai, because your E isn't really like the most important thing in the world, but jungle Maokai, yes, these are certainly nerfs, and we'll have to see exactly what the current iteration, so Demonic Embrace, maybe even Liandry's Anguish Maokai, how that changes in 13.4. Then we have Elise, guys. So your melee Q's base damage is going down by 10 in the early game, all the way to 30 in the late game. This is massive, like legit. If you guys remember the Kindred nerfs a couple of patches ago where your base damage on your Q went down by 10, look at her now. Her win rate has dropped so much at every single rank. I think the same is going to happen to Elise. Also, your Spiderling's base damage on top of that is going down as well in the early game. Even though it's increasing at rank 5, I just think this is going to hit Elise so hard, and she won't be the same champion. Now, another AP jungler getting hit, this is Amumu. Your health growth is going down. Your armor growth is going down. In other words, your scaling mid to late game is going to be worse. Then we have your W's damage. The base damage is staying the same, but it is going to scale less off your max HP. So once again, your mid to late game is going to be hit. I still think the Mummy though will easily be playable, definitely more so than Elise, so not too much to worry about here. Then we have Udyr, so another AP jungler. Your HP growth is going down, your base armor is going down, so in the early game you're going to be weaker, the HP growth, you'll be less healthy in the mid to late game, and then your Q's on hit ratio, scaling off your bonus attack damage, this is getting nerfed by 5%. Then we have your ultimate slow base off your Phoenix stance, right? This is going down by 5% at each rank, so I don't actually know if this is going to push Udyr players into going like attack damage Udyr, or even like tank Udyr. I don't really think it is. I still think Phoenix stance Udyr with a Demonic Embrace Rush is going to be the go. Now, we also have J4, so a follow-up nerf here because his W, well, J4 has just become so broken, right? He hasn't really. But anyway, the Rito Balance team think that nerfing his W by 1 second and the AD ratio by 10%. This is really going to help things. Honestly, like this does mean a little bit for J4. His win rate might go down by like 0.5%, but he'll still be more than playable. Now, moving into the mid lane, Anivia. Your health growth is getting nerfed and your armor growth is getting nerfed as well. So as you scale into a game, into the mid to late game, especially with the new Rod of Ages, right, where you're stacking HP, Anivia becomes very tanky. So nerfing the health growth, I actually kind of agree with this. And then the armor growth again, if you're building something like Zhonya's, you become so tanky. So nerfing your armor as the game progresses actually means you are killable if you do mess up. Then we have Azir, and I mentioned in yesterday's video, guys, I sent out an apology to all you Pigeon mains, and your mana pool is getting nerfed in the early game by 100 at rank 1, but it is actually increasing by over 150 at level 18, right? So this means that your early game, your early laning phase is going to be weaker, but if you do get to the late game, you're going to have more mana and you'll be able to spam your spells more. Then we have your W's recharge, so every time your soldier kind of like regenerates and you can use another W again. This is getting nerfed in the early game to 10 seconds. It's still going to be 6 seconds though at rank 5 with 5 points in it. Then we have your E's damage, which is actually getting buffed. So the actual base damage is getting buffed in the late game, and the ratio is also getting buffed by around 30%. This is really nice. Then we have your ultimates damage. The base damage is getting buffed, so it's going from 175 to 200 at level 6, and then it's going all the way up to 600 at level 16, and the ratio again is getting buffed here by 25%. So on the whole, I actually think these are nice for Azir. I don't know why they called them nerfs. I mean, maybe it's a nerf overall, especially to the early game, like your mana pool, but in total, like these look pretty good. So Azir mains, I'd love to know what you think of these because yes, I did apologize to you guys yesterday. So what do you think? Are these buffs? Are you excited for them? Let me know in the comments. Now, champion adjustment. Thresh. Pretty much what it's saying here, guys, is that they want you to max your Q first and then your E after this. This is why your Q's damaged. The AP ratio is going up, and this will scale off your souls, of course. The cooldown as well is going to decrease at level 9, so it's only going to be on a 9-second cooldown. Your W shield is actually decreasing at later ranks, and the cooldown is going to be higher when you have 5 points in it. Again, trying to get you to max your W last. And speaking of that, your E's damage, your phase damage is increasing from rank 2 onwards, and also the AP ratio is increasing again like your Q by 10%, and this will work off your souls, of course, so you don't actually have to build any AP. Now moving on to system buffs, guys, the relic shield and steel shoulder guards, the engaged, tanky, melee support items, the actual regen from the tier 1 is actually doubling, and at tier 2 it's increasing by 50%. Now moving on to system nerfs, Spell Thief's Edge and Spectral Sickle. If you're playing an enchanter range support, the mana regen from the tier 1 and tier 2 are getting nerfed, and the charge generation, they're both getting nerfed as well. Now Sharded True Ice, the mana regeneration is going down from 115% to 100%. So again, all those range supports are getting hit by this. Now, kill experience, this is where it gets interesting, right? Kills against enemies at your level as percentages progress to your next level. This is getting nerfed from level 2 all the way to level 9. So if you do get a kill in the early game, pretty much what this means is that you're not going to get as much experience from this. So in terms of snowballing, this is nerfed. And also here, kill comeback experience is getting nerfed as well. So this means if you are actually behind your opponent, you're not going to be able to get back into a game as much because you're getting less experience when you actually kill them. But on the whole, this does look like a nerf to actual kill experience and snowballing in the game generally. Now speaking of snowballing, Treasure Hunter, the actual gold you're getting from this now is going down. Now the last system nerf here, guys, is to Demonic Embrace and your clear speed. So this is actually going to have a damage cap of 40 per tick against monsters. So if you're playing Maokai, Udyr, these tanky junglers, right, who are rushing Demonic Embrace, you're going to be worse off. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Maokai performs in 13.4 with all of these nerfs and the last couple of changes here, guys, the adjustments. Jungle sustain and clear speed, so the base kill heal is actually increasing and Gromp's base HP is going down, but Rift Herald no longer has a soft reset state and the companion AP ratio is going down from 15% to 12%. Now for D-Shield, the last one here, guys, the actual base regen is going down to 4 HP per 5 seconds instead of being 6 HP per 5 seconds. Don't know how right I think these are adjustments. These are just nerfs, but those guys were the changes for 13.4. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on them, and until tomorrow's Season 13 upload, this has been a peace.